welcome. This is How to Disrupt a Big Industry. I'm Andrea Hardallo, Social Media Director at Inc. So if you are posting on social, I'll be seeing it. So be sure to hashtag Inc. Founders House and tag us. But I have an amazing panel today. All three of these speakers are people who have, quite honestly, disrupt their industries. I could introduce them myself, but they have such extensive backgrounds that let's go down the line and just kind of give your name, your title, and how you kind of got here. Eric, you first.
Hi, hey everybody. I'm Eric Liedtke, Chief Marketing Officer for Under Armour, CEO of Unless Collective, which is the first 100% plant-based fashion brand. Happy to be here.
Julia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia Reichelstein. I am the co-founder and CEO of Vaulted Deep. We are disrupting the waste management industry, trying to keep organic waste out of landfills to fight climate change.
And I am, that's loud, Omar Bailey, co-founder of Fctry Lab. And we are disrupting the sneaker industry by making the barrier of entry into the business much easier than it has been in the past.
Yes, give them a shout out. So all of you have such extensive backgrounds. Omar, I'm going to start with you. What were you seeing in the industry that you decided, okay, this is the reason why Fctry Lab needs to come about? I know we've talked about that you've always kind of been innovating and trying to get Fctry Lab to where it is, but kind of give me your background story a little bit and how that kind of started Fctry Lab.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lack. I've been in the shoe business 23 years, lived in China, lived in India, understand manufacturing in addition to being a designer. And one of the things that I saw during my time at Adidas, Eric was also there as well, and spent a lot of time working with the Yeezy brand under Kanye West. And the thing that I saw at that time was that artists who have all these ideas and they want to get them out, and they want to get them out quickly and fast, they don't have a way to do it, especially with big brands, unfortunately, sometimes, right? They can be sort of like cruise ships and move very slow. I was brought in to speed that up, right? And how do you shorten the development cycle so that you could get the production faster, but also make the barrier of entry much simpler and easier for anyone who had an idea to want to get into the shoe business. So I saw a gap for that. There's a lot of people out there who have shoe ideas. I'm sure there's tons of people in here who have thought about at some point in time an idea for a shoe. And my job, or what I've wanted to do, is make that much easier to understand. It's a very sort of high ceiling in terms of just like it's very cost intensive to get into it. And just wanted to use my experience all these years to make it much easier. So I saw that opportunity, started Fctry Lab, and and that was kind of how we got the ball rolling.
Amazing. And Julia, you have a similar extensive background in just like climate change. Oh, sorry, something just fell.
Yeah, I think it was like a leaf or something. You're
okay.
Good. Yeah.
Good, got it. But Julia, you with climate change, you started out as a VC as well. So kind of give us the background of what you saw kind of happening in the industry and why you decided to kind of go with Vaulted Deep.
Yeah. I started my career in international development. So I lived in Nairobi, Kenya for nearly a decade, and I was working with smallholder farmers. These are people that farm like half an acre, quarter acre, mostly subsistence farmers, trying to get them access to formal financial services like parametric crop insurance. And when you work with populations farming on the equator right now, to put it really bluntly, like you see climate change. Like it is here, it is happening now, it is showing up in terms of food insecurity and conflict and migration and a whole bunch of stuff that's pretty heartbreaking. And so I left Nairobi, company got acquired, and then I became a VC, venture capitalist in climate technologies in general. So I was investing in all these different climate technologies, and I got really lucky, honestly. I was investing at the same time that the IPCC report came out, which is big body of sort of scientists on climate change, and they said for the first time, we know we're going to need 5 to 10 gigatons of durable carbon removal to be under 2 degrees of warming. So I know this is not like purely a climate house, but 5 to 10 gigatons is a lot. That's 5 to 10 billion tons annually of carbon that we have to remove from the atmosphere to stay in a habitable planet. And I was like, how much have we done so far? Does anyone want to guess?
Anyone?
20,000 tons ever. And
wow.
I was like, that is a very steep ramp-up curve on need, and a great market opportunity. And so I left being a VC, and I pretty quickly met my co-founder who had developed our core technology in the oil and gas sector, which is a deep well slurry injection technology. What we do is we take organic waste and we put it really deep underground, so it's not decomposing in a landfill and contributing to climate change. And so he had this great technology that he had really commercialized in the oil and gas sector, and I was like, what if we took that, did it for organic waste, and then had a not only a really big profitable business, but one that could fight climate change too.
And Eric, and your story is also quite interesting. You founded Unless Collective. Tie that into how you started that company and then how it kind of brought you to Under Armour and what you're doing the work there for.
Yeah, I kind of in the combination of both these two. So I come from the sporting goods industry. So I was 26 years at Adidas. The last 6 years I was the brand president of Adidas. I did a lot of cool stuff, but the coolest thing we did was introduced ocean plastic, product made out of ocean plastics through an association with Parley for the Oceans. It was the first of its kind. I was able to present it at the United Nations General Assembly, and we ended up doing like $1 billion in business and of that product shortly thereafter. And so we proved that the consumer cares. They care enough to buy the right thing. They just don't know how. So if you give them an option to say, if I buy this, I save baby sea turtles, great. So we started going with that, and then you find out, well, ocean plastic, recycled plastic is still plastic. What is the Holy Grail? Well, the Holy Grail is to make things out of plants. If you can make 100% of your stuff out of plants, then that stuff goes naturally away and becomes good worm and plant food. But nobody in the industry was bold enough to do that because there's a lot of competing interests. Going back to what Omar was saying earlier, it's like it's hard, there's a barrier of entry. So now I said, all right, 2019, perfect timing, right before COVID, I decided to go out and raise some money and start the Unless Collective, which is the first 100% plant-based fashion company, which we're sponsoring South by Southwest, by the way, filmmakers jackets, and we're available for sale over there in the filmmakers area right off of the Rivian display. Just a little plug there. Anyway, we did about, and everything I'm wearing is Unless Collective, by the way. It's inspired by Surf Skate Snow. We scaled that up a little bit, had some fun, and then Kevin Plank, who's the founder, CEO of Under Armour, came calling. And if you know anything about Under Armour, you know they were born from material sciences also. So he saw the material science of the future in us, just like he saw it 30 years ago in Under Armour. And so we were required about 1.5 years ago to come in and help bring this, what we call biocycle or regenerative fashion, into Under Armour, and that's what we're doing today. So super excited about it, but really combining the environmentalism of Julia and the entrepreneur and the hustle in the sporting goods industry of Omar. So I'm the bridge. I should be in the middle.
You want to switch, or?
No, and you all have, with this experience, just so much different types of innovative companies. Everyone here obviously is building their companies, trying to sustain growth. So I guess I'll shoot it back again to Omar. Like when it came to Fctry Lab, what were the keys to growth, especially when you were coming at an industry that already has, the shoe industry is however many years old. Like how do you really continue to innovate, or where do you even start with the innovation on that?
It's about 75 years old.
Yeah, no, it's tough, right? Like when we did our seed round in 2022, our goal was to raise a couple $1 million. We ended up raising $6 million while I was wrapping up things at Yeezy, which was incredible for us. But then at that point, it's like, okay, what do I do next? So you're trying to figure out who you are, right? And when you're starting your company, you think you have an idea on where you're going, but there's pivots that come along the way, and you have to figure out kind of where you belong and where you fit. I always looked at the shoes that I created, as like movie franchises. How can you make the shoe stand out on its own? How can I leverage innovation to influence shape, form, function, and feel to make the shoe look different than anything else that we've seen? Does that sound familiar? That's what we did at Yeezy, right? Like when you think of shoes like the Foam Runner and the 450, these are all iconic silhouettes that literally changed the industry. So I was just taking a bit of that sauce that I played a small role in when I was there and apply that in a way that made it more accessible to others. So for me, it was about, if you look at a lot of our shoes, or all of our shoes, there's no logo on it, there's no swoosh, there's no 3 stripes or anything like that. For me, the logo is the shoe. When you see the shoe, you recognize it, it stands out, and I love when people come to me and say, I knew that was a Fctry Lab shoe the moment I saw it.
I love that. No, I do love that too. Clearly, you guys know they knew each other before this. Just Julia, in a similar realm with innovative, like just innovation at all, we talked a little bit about like competitor space. And, when you're creating a company going in after an industry that's been around for a very long time, you noted like you're not really thinking of your competitors. You're kind of just like, how am I doing what we're doing and continuing to stand out? You're the only, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the only waste management company that removes carbon with, oh my God, my notes. Oh my God, slurry. Oh, I messed up.
You got it.
We practiced it before.
You're right there. I'm with you.
The slurry injection tech. So kind of
yeah.
go into that, because why was no one using it before, and why?
Please.
Why was no one using it before, and why did you say like this is what we need to be doing with it?
Yeah. So we're here to disrupt the waste management industry, right? And waste management is probably an industry that not a lot of people in this room think that much about. I didn't think that much about it. Frankly, I'm flabbergasted. I'm a waste management executive. Who knew that was coming in my life? But it's happened. No, I mean, waste management is one of our biggest, oldest, most essential industries, right? It's like $300 billion a year in the U.S. alone. It is very consolidated. They're pretty high barriers to entry, and it's basically functions like a commodity business, right? So you've got high barriers to entry, mostly based on economies of scale. So you've got few, very concentrated, high volume players, and there's not been a ton of innovation in it in 50 years. Like, what do we do with organic waste in the U.S.? We do the same thing that like our grandfathers did, right? We dump it in a landfill, we burn it, or we spread it on land to get rid of it. So there hasn't been any innovation in a really long time. That's for some reasons of the consolidation, and also just because, frankly, margins are sort of low in waste management, right? And so to do something different requires, breaking into this big consolidated industry. And so when we looked at organic waste, I'm like, when it goes to a landfill, it's decomposing into CO2 and methane. It's having leachate issues when you burn it. It's having air pollution issues and odor issues. When you spread it on the land, you've got PFAS contamination. And so it's not great from local environmental standpoint, from a climate change standpoint. And instead of putting it in those three places, let's put it really deep underground where we're locking away carbon and protecting local environments. And so that insight of like, we could do something better with the waste, that's step one. But you asked who my competitors are. Like, my competitor is the landfill, right? Like, my competitor is not a brand My competitor is literally like spreading it on land, right? And so I think for us, when we think about like a big essential industry, you have to go up against like big essential things that have been around a long time.
But is that an opportunity to work with the landfill owners at all too, or no?
At times, yeah. What's interesting is like a lot of landfill owners actually don't like organics. They cause a lot of problems. They cause leachate, which is like the stuff that comes out of landfills, and they cause odor. But also with our partners, like we partner across big industry, right? So paper, ag, CPG, municipalities on wastewater treatment facilities, and they all want better solutions too, right? As long as they don't pay a lot more, right? Like waste management, you kind of just want it to be reliable. You want it gone, and you don't really want to think about it again, and so it's sort of a service business. And so for us, I'm like, hey, you can give it to us instead of that landfill. Economics will be about the same, and you can feel a bit better at the end of the day that it's not contributing to climate change.
What is the slurry injection, though? Like, what's that method? What is slurry?
Great question. You don't know what slurry is?
That's why
everyone
I messed
here
it
knows
up.
what slurry is, right? No? Crazy. No, slurry injection is just how do you put solids underground. That's the really hard part, right? So most geologic injection is a pure gas or a pure liquid. Putting solids underground is really hard to do. My co-founder developed that technology in the oil and gas space with oil field waste.
So that was the answer. That's perfect. Solids underground.
I will say, Julia, I like when you describe the Empire State Building visual. Can you just kind of mention that to everyone? Because I don't think people realize, like, Vaulted Deep's name, like, it is deep for a reason.
Yeah.
So can you kind of give the visual so the audience can kind of understand, like, what you guys are doing? Like, you are not just, this is not just, like, a carbon waste, like, simple thing. It is deep underground.
Yeah, very deep. That's why we literally, it used to be just called vaulted, and then we added a second word. It's not vaulted shallow. Yeah, we take organic waste, instead of letting it go to landfill, we pump it thousands of feet underground, so 3,000 to 5,000 feet underground, where it's permanently locked away. It's not coming back up. There's always a layer of caprock, so a confining interval, as we call it in geology world, so it's not coming back up to surface. So that carbon is permanently locked away, and all those pathogens, stuff that you don't want in your groundwater, that you don't want in your body, is really deep underground. So 3 to 5 Empire State Buildings is the way you could visualize that depth.
Which is crazy when you actually visualize it. And Eric, for Under Armour, a brand that's been around for a while, obviously a while.
30 years.
You are my numbers guy. Any number I need, I'm gonna be like, Eric, tell me.
It's my dream.
So when it came to Unless, and then obviously with Under Armour obviously has brand values. How do you continue to kind of, I guess, increase those brand values to go back to the sustainability that you are really trying to achieve? What is Under Armour's goals in terms of sustainability, and how are you kind of emphasizing that as you're innovating for more things that you could be adding to the company?
Yeah, I think first of all, sustainability can't be separate from brand strategy. It has to be the brand. It has to be within everything you do. As soon as you put it out as a chief sustainability officer role, it becomes something else, and somebody else's, and it becomes a counting exercise. If you're going to have an insight that you're going to drive through, which is to really clean up the industry and make things out of better things, and get rid of microplastics, nanoplastics, chemicals that are invading our bodies each and every day, then you've got to embed that into the business. And so what we did is we wrote a 5-year strategy plan that basically talked about how we were going to, what is our why, what is our what is our how, and get into, everybody, Simon Sinek, everybody knows, know your why. It's great. If you don't know your why as a company, you're lost. So we really spent some time talking about that, and we talked about being a 30-year-old sports brand. Through sport, we have the power, right? Through sport, we have the power to expand every playing field. And what we mean by that is we can do that in resurrecting the city of Baltimore. We can do that by investing in urban schools that don't have the opportunities through our Project Rampart to get the same equal opportunity everybody else has. But we can also do it in creating a better earth. So we look at our consumers as multidimensional. We look at them as athletes in their sport. We look at them through but we recognize the culture of sport doesn't stop when you leave the playing field. It goes with you in the hallways of life. So we recognize that music comes into play, as Omar has spoken about a few times. We recognize that it goes into the hallways of life, into the streets, into music venues. But also, listen, it doesn't take me to tell you guys there's a lot of chaos going on in the world today. That hits our consumers as well, right? When we start bombing a country, or we start having protests, we start invading people's lives through immigration policies, that has an impact. We start having climate change issues that Julia talked about. That has an impact on everybody's lives every day. So we have to recognize that in our consumers, that they have a game in life and world that we need to address, and we have responsibility. We can't just sell them things to help them jump higher, run faster. We've got to care about all facets of our consumers. So when you do that and you hard code it into a big company, it becomes second language to us. So then when you set the teams to work, when you set the business units to make better running shoes, basketball shoes, football shoes, they're looking at it through that lens. How do we make their lives better? How do we help them run faster? How do we help them look better when they leave those sports of play? And how do we help them live in a better place that we can help them with? And it can't do anything, but we release and empower our employees to really make a difference in our lives.
Yeah. And speaking of the consumer too, aside from just, how do you collect that data from the consumer? How do you know which ones are, who are you tackling first when it comes to all of that?
I mean, there's all sorts of tools. I mean, there's a lot of quantitative tools out there, and you can subscribe to services. Obviously, we all are using AI more and more, and that's a tool at our fingertips that we can use to mine information. I believe your best tool sometimes is your gut, that AI can't do. It's about looking around that next corner. It's about gleaning insights, and you can look at insights through a consumer lens. You can look at insights through a product lens. You can look at insights through a brand lens. It's when you pull those together and you start to anticipate where things are going. Julie and I were talking backstage about that. It's sustainability is not cool anymore because current administration has kind of made it not cool. It's it doesn't go away. You just have to kind of reorient it and make sure, what's cool? All of us are wearing biometric things now. All of us are talking about longevity now. All of us are measuring our HRV. I didn't know what the hell an HRV was 5 years ago, but now I was like, what's your HRV? How's your HRV doing? My HRV is this. And it's and so that you've got to get into those things. So when you combine all those insights, all of a sudden it's well, what if we address this through a longevity lens? What if we address it through a wellness lens? Everybody's into that, so it doesn't have to go away. You just have to reorient it and move it at the pace of culture.
Yeah. And speaking of the pace of culture, Omar, you have like a really big community that has followed you, or also you're kind of building currently. You've had partnerships at Fctry Lab too that have been very successful. How are you building your community in just like, coming from a Yeezy to now starting on your own thing? How are you building your community and involving them to know more about Fctry Lab?
Yeah, I mean, coming from Yeezy helps a lot. Especially when you're in the shoe business. It's, I mean, we live in the world is obviously much smaller with social media now, right? And we've known that for a long time. And it's all about how you engage, with your community. There's all these fragmented audiences kind of all over the place, which, I think is probably what a lot of big brands are still trying to sort of figure out how to tap into, right? Like, a long time ago, you could cast a very wide net and capture a lot of people, but now everyone is into very specific things. So you have to know how to talk to them. So we use a lot of tools to do that, but also trying to communicate with them through through social. But we put it out there, kind of what Eric just said, where you sort of hardwire kind of what your vision for the company is, and you become that. And it's important for us to get feedback from our customers about our shoes and our products and what they like and what they don't like and where we can make adjustments and do all that. And that wasn't something that you could necessarily do in the past, right? You buy it, and then if it doesn't fit and they don't have a return policy, and you're just sort of stuck with it, right? And we're working through that, and it's tough. Running a consumer product business or a business where you sell consumer products is it's tough because you're focused on growth but maintaining the brand. Sales and revenue, all these things are very important, and you sort of go through all these different stages of excitement and grief, and one day you feel like everything is all over, and then the next day you feel like you're on top of the world, and that's just kind of what it is. So it's about navigating those waters, but more importantly, not forgetting why you're there in the first place, and that's because of your community and your customers and the fans who have been there supporting you.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's valid, and that's the people who are going to keep coming back, right?
Yeah.
So with disruption comes big risk. So I wanted to kind of ask all of you, what is your advice for everyone here today in taking a big risk and also just like disrupting your industries? Julia, do you want to start?
I did not prep this one. My advice, I mean, I think I almost struggle with the word disruption. I think it is what we're doing, and it is what I'm trying to do. I don't like that organic waste goes into landfills, or we burn it, or we spread it on land. I think it's not great from a lot of different angles, but also, I think there are good reasons why the systems are the way that they are. Not that they can't be better, but there's good reasons there. And so at least in our business, we found that the best way to make a change is to partner with the companies that are doing that legacy work and not say, man, you guys are really fucking it up and you're doing a horrible job and you guys are the bad guys, right? We're saying, hey, you've had pretty limited options about what you can do with this. Here's a better one, right? Here's an option that you can take and go forward with. And so I think for me, it's disrupting, but it's also disrupting like through a lens of building partnership and building trust and, kind of opening the aperture of what's possible. And I think that goes a long way in these big consolidated industries.
Eric, what about you? What's your advice for disrupting an industry or really taking a risk?
I come from a different way. Like, I'm not the youngest founder up here. So I was 26 years at Adidas, and it gets to a point where enough's enough. It's like when you find out what you're doing in the world, like to me, it's like it became personal. And I started to live my life with zero wasted hours. If I wasn't going to do something for myself, for my friends, for my family, for my community, for my world, I wasn't going to do it. And that meant I had to take the leap and leave Adidas. And I didn't know where I was going to land, but I knew that I have kids, and they're going to have kids, and they're going to have kids, and they're going to have kids. And am I going to leave the world in a microplastic, nanoplastic, chemical-filled place, or am I going to try to make a difference? So it's kind of like one of those moments where, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I'm not a religious person, but you had to kind of make up for your errors. And so I'm committing the rest of my life to doing that. So my thing is, don't waste your time, guys. Life is short. Get after it now. Let's go. Make the movement. Resist.
And Omar, I'm going to ask you the same thing. What is your advice for disrupting an industry, or rather just like taking big risks?
Gosh, that's a tough one to follow up.
I mean,
No, I think my definition of disrupting an industry is by doing what you do, but doing it exceptionally well, right? Like, not, when you think of disruption, a lot of people probably think of this huge, like, big thing that everybody in the world has to know about. Even if you're disrupting a small community or amount of, an industry or, whatever it might be, do what you do and do it well, and it will be noticed, and people will react and respond to it, whether good or bad, right? And I think that speaks to the commitment that it takes when you're building something and you're creating something. We live in a very everything's about instant gratification today, right? And knowing that it takes time to build things, to build something that's meaningful, to build something that you care about. So I think by putting the time into it and becoming an expert at whatever it is that you're doing, that's how you become disruptive.
amazing. And we have a couple minutes left. So my last question for you all is, you've all kind of noted on like the past, like what was happening in the past that you ultimately realized, okay, that's a problem. How can I change it? What's the future for kind of all of you when it comes to your companies? You don't have to do anything too specific, but what are you hoping to add as, the next 5-10 years come about? Omar, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. We're at a really interesting stage. We're in year 4. We just closed our Series A at the end of last year, which is a big milestone for us. And, now we're at this interesting point in time where we're trying to figure out sort of how do you scale beyond what we've done, right? We've been able to sort of rise above the noise and been able to survive, the initial sort of startup as a company. Now what do we do next? But along that path, as we scale and grow and hopefully go into retail, how can we affect change in a positive way? So, continuing to inspire young creatives and designers thinking more about the environment and how we can do things with products to so that there's not as much waste, with shoes, which is, that's a whole other conversation about footwear and whatnot that we can have. But really just starting to think about the things and consider the things that I care about. When you're building a company, you're just trying to survive every day. But now it's like, okay, how do I really start to implement the things that I do think about every day and I do care about and bring that into the ethos of the business?
Yeah. Julia, what about you?
I want to make waste management sexy.
I like that.
That's my goal. Yeah.
Clock it, everyone. Clock it.
Feels like it's going to be hard. But, waste management is like, nobody thinks about it. Slurry injection of waste management, yeah. But nobody thinks about it. And I loved what you said earlier so much because, I think right now, like, things get hot or not hot, right? Climate was hot, now wellness is hot, right? It keeps moving around. But the truth of the matter is it's all connected, right? Like our health, our environment, we are all a part of a super connected world, way more connected than I think we can wrap our brains around because it's slightly terrifying at times. But you were talking about how like clothing can, leach into your body, and so it's health and it's the environment and what, and so I think that loop is really important to connect. And so like waste management, it's this huge industry and it touches every single one of us. We all create waste in all these different forms, and we could use that not only to fight climate change, but also to keep our communities healthy. So our like pathogens from the waste aren't going back there. And I like, when you think about it, you're like, oh, of course, that makes so much sense, but we don't think about it. So I'm on a mission of how you can make waste management sexy, and I have no idea how I'm going to do that. So if you have ideas, I'm all ears.
Starts with slurry.
And Eric, what about you? What are the next 5 years looking like for?
Yeah. I take inspiration from the electric vehicle industry or the plant-based protein industry. Both have reached inflection points quite quickly, and now I can have a delicious oat milk latte, or now I can drive a badass fast car on the highways. So in our world, we have to reach the same thing. We have to reach an inflection point in the fashion industry where we insist that our product is made out of plant-based fashion versus petroleum-based fashion that's killing us. I'm so tired of the world, fast fashion's cheap. It's not cheap. It's literally killing us. It's literally killing you. So we need to make it more sustainable, and we are. So 5 years from now, if we're not 10% of it, which is the inflection point for the industry, then I'd be disappointed. I don't have a lot of time to waste.
No, it's serious.
I like that.
But yeah, thank you so much, Omar, Julia, Eric, Omar. Omar has a quick announcement because after our session, there will be some of his books available.
Yeah,
so.
I have my biography, Heart and Soul, that's coming out. I wish I could have brought a copy for everybody. There's like 30 in there. First come, first serve. I got some really cool bookmarks in there, and I'm happy to chat about it and rap about it if you're interested in learning more about me and my story.
Amazing. Thank you.